Okay, good evening everyone and welcome. This is exciting. We love getting together like this with our counterparts at the City of Beaufort, Beaufort County School Board, Fire Department, Police Department. You know, everybody's here, and we just think that coming together, that collaboration really just makes for a better unit, and all of us here in local government helps us provide better services for our residents and our citizens and the people that we represent, which I know is why we're all here and what we all want to do. So we like to try to keep everybody on the same page as much as we can, and these meetings are integral to that. So this is something, if you're first time here, we do it periodically. We all get together with the City of Beaufort. We're very close with them. We call them our sister city. I mean, there's parts, our municipalities butt up next to each other. You could be walking down the street, one side's Port Royal and one side's the City of Beaufort. We're that close with them. So we love the City of Beaufort, and of course, thank you, Beaufort County, for being here. I think we'll just get started really quick. You know, we do want to be respectful of everyone's time, but we'll just go around. I'm pretty sure we all know each other, but just for everyone maybe watching at home and here, we'll just go around, do some just introductions really quick. I'll start to my left. We'll go around the circle, and then we'll get some people in the audience as well, too.
Okay. I'm Phil Cromer, Mayor of Beaufort.
I'm Scott Marshall, Beaufort City Manager.
Mitch Mitchell, City of Beaufort.
Josh Galletti, City of Beaufort.
Neil Lipsitz, City of Beaufort.
Mike Moore, Beaufort County Administrator.
Alice Howard, District 4, County Council.
Anna Marie Tabernick, District 6, County Council.
Paula Brown, County Council, District 8.
Kent Geyer, School Board. Jerry Meadow, Town of Port Royal.
Maribeth Hayward, Town of Port Royal.
Daryl Owens, Town of Port Royal.
Jerry Ashmore, Town of Port Royal.
Brooke Plank Bucola, Assistant Town Manager for the Town of Port Royal.
Kevin Phillips, Mayor of the Town of Port Royal. In the back.
Noah Krebs, Town of Port Royal Planning.
Graham, Town Clerk for Town of Port Royal. Tracy Goldner, City Clerk.
Amber Hewitt, Town of Port Royal.
And now the crowd.
I'm Jocelyn Steiger, Government Affairs Director for the Beaufort Jasper County Realtors, and I hope
JJ Survey, Deputy City Manager.
Charlie Russo, resident Port Royal.
And next to Charlie.
County resident, Beaufort City.
Behind you.
Tim Ogden, Fire Chief, Beaufort at Port Royal Fire.
Hope Cunningham, resident Port Royal.
That good-looking guy standing in the back.
Connor King, local business owner.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Ross Suzanne, Deputy Chief, City of Beaufort, Town of Port Royal.
Jeff Myers, Police Chief, Port Royal.
Rob Cahill, resident, Beaufort.
Perfect. Thank you all so much for being here. And you know, you can tell I was just so excited. I just kind of jumped ahead and just jumped into the introductions. We need to do the Pledge of Allegiance, so let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance really quick.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And it's on the agenda. We got an invocation. I know we just said a blessing, but you can never pray too much. So, Councilman Ashmore, if you could lead us in the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this moment. Thank you for this moment in time in Port Royal. We can all get together to discuss and to learn from each other about our communities and about each other and how we can do things to better the living and the way of life in the Low Country. Bless each person here tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So, and kind of our thought for this when we got started was, you know, we've had them in the past, and you know they will change throughout the year as the year comes. You know, we have plans and all that, but you know what they say, you know, tell God your plans and He will laugh. So, you know, we like to start off the year. We thought it'd be good just to kind of have a conversation, talk about our organizations, our municipalities, our governmental agencies, and our just kind of our priorities, our plans, what we're thinking about for this year, just so we're kind of on the same page. We know what's going on with each other. So if you look at the agenda, it's really just a discussion tonight. So feel free, you know, hop in, ask questions. You know, like I said, we just want this to be free-flowing and really just kind of, you know, getting to know each other, working together. So as you can see, just kind of as a rough draft, we'll start off with the priorities of the City of Beaufort for, you know, 2025. You know, what's on the horizon? What can we expect? What great things can we expect from the City of Beaufort this upcoming year? Well, and like I said, feel free anyway, you know, jump in.
I'll just start off. We have some specific priorities, obviously, with the waterfront park is one of our main things because that's a crown jewel and important to our economy and also to our community. But we also have the marina issues. We've got some stormwater projects, some major projects that are going to be underway here in the next 2 years. So those are kind of specific to Beaufort, but we have a lot of other priorities, I think affordable housing and the homeless and all that, that's a big issue for everybody, not just Beaufort, it's regional. Transportation, talking mainly about public transportation in the northern Beaufort County. Also, with that, traffic. We've got to worry about that. We've got issues. If you came to this meeting tonight, you probably saw all the traffic, especially down towards Port Royal, trying to get excuse me, over the new bridge. Also, I've thrown out there resiliency. That's something that we specifically in Beaufort have to be worried about because of sea level rise and flooding and all that, and how we can maybe work together to make our community and the county and everything more resilient. Also, I'm concerned about preservation of our historic and our cultural heritage. I think that's important to us and what makes us a destination for tourism. Also, environmental conservation, I think we need to be mindful of that. We're in the low country, so we have to have a place for water to go. If you develop everything, it has nowhere to go, so it's going to end up flooding, so that's important. And then I guess generally speaking, growth and development. And along with that, diversity of our economy, because in Beaufort we're too heavily dependent on the military and tourism. We need to branch out. We need to get into either technology, innovation. What can we do there? And I made a note here. We have the South Coast Cyber Center. I would like to see them pursue a cybersecurity hub, particularly in maritime. I think that would be perfect for our area because we have the ports of Charleston, Wilmington, Savannah, and Jacksonville all within our close proximity. And we have those degree programs and certificate programs in TCL and USCB. And those graduates, if we don't have jobs for them here, they're going to leave. So, and I like to take a phrase from the affordable housing, we have a missing middle here. The 25 to 55-year-olds, most people have to go away to find a good job, make the money, and then they come back and retire. So we've got to be thinking of what can we do to keep our youth here. So I threw out a lot of stuff.
No, perfect. Yes, perfect. I think that's anything else from the city?
Well, the only one that I would like to add on, with the housing is the homeless. Mm-hmm. We've got quite a few folks that don't have any place to stay. They're living in the woods. And I think we can do better than that. So as part of my housing thing, I have a hyphen that says not only housing, but the homeless also. There, pretty
that's
much
part of
covered
the
all
whole
the other things that I would have said.
Yeah.
So as far as priorities, I think everything was hit pretty well. I guess we could dive a little bit deeper into each one and talk about what we could actually do and where we can make a difference. One of the things that has been priority for me that was discussed too is the homeless population and affordability. So I've worked a lot with the Hopeful Horizons, doing the point-in-time counts, just primarily to get a better understanding of what our problem actually is. How many people are homeless? How many are housing insecure? How many are burdened by the fact that so many of our residents pay 40% or higher of their annual wage just for housing, and then you throw in the cost of living with food and everything else, and it becomes the driving factor for younger families to have to move out, like the mayor pointed out. So on the county's website, actually, they identified a roadmap to self-sufficiency, which I found interesting, and I just took some notes, but there were 8 things that were identified: housing, transportation, living wage, healthcare, childcare, food security, technology, and education and training. As the conversation unfolds, I'm sure we'll talk more about what we can do for affordable housing or transitional housing when it comes to the homeless population. I know that recently we became a MPO, like a Metropolitan Planning Organization, and through that we'll have a transportation improvement program that comes out. So that kind of covers the regional public transportation piece. Hopefully we can get some more available options there. And food security is another thing. So as we look at these priorities, there's a lot of them that could kind of be, you could almost have like a resource hub or a center where, people could come and get a lot of these needs met instead of being so scattered. If you listen to the messaging from United Way, they talk about that and actually identify it as the Beaufort Shuffle, because our resources are so scattered that if somebody in need were to try to go and get help, they've got to go to several different locations and they're not really familiar where to start. But once they figure that piece out, they're just bouncing around. They got to take a day off of work, and when you're behind, you already become more behind because of that. So I think, continuing the effort that is in place to bring those resources together is something that we could probably discuss in a collective group like this. But I'll move on, and then maybe we can come back and elaborate on some of those.
Okay. Excuse me. Our mayor, he's covered a good bit of what I'm thinking, along with Councilman Mitchell and Scaletti. One thing y'all did forget is our youth. We lost the bowling alley, the skating rink, all these other activities. We need to figure a way to incentivize or bring something for the younger ones here, whether it be movie theater or whether it be bowling alley, whatever. We need to have something here more for the youth. I'd like to see. I don't know how we'll go about doing it, but I feel that's something that's very much missing from our community.
It's obviously the negative part of being the last person on council to talk, because they've covered everything from the standpoint of the things, but concur with everything that we're talking about: our affordable housing, our housing insecure, the homeless population, finding viable jobs for our missing middle, all high points of our sustainability and our strategic planning as well. So.
Well, I think so. We'll take that. We'll kind of next here, we'll go through some kind of our priorities, where we're at this year, where we're, where we were, where we're going, what we're thinking about this year, where we're going, and then see if any of ours kind of, cross. And if they do, maybe then we can bring those up here in the collaborative initiative and just have a discussion about that. And so, and then at the end, we do want to hear from the county though too. So again, if y'all got any ideas, resources, any of that, when we get to that collaborative section, please jump in and let us know. So they got plenty. All right, cool. So, well, priorities for Port Royal. So we what we've been up to for the past year. We just had our last election. This council's just finished up our first year all together, and our goal of last year was we all know that a lot of the things that we just talked about are coming from the growth that we're seeing. We know this place is growing. There is no signs that is going to stop. People are retiring. It's beautiful. I know young people that want to move here. I know it's very tough, but I could say from when I graduated, I've got a handful of friends that were in Charleston that now live here. So people are moving here of all ages. We are getting more older population, but people are coming, and they've been coming, and they're going to continue to come. So Port Royal, we focused last year on trying to set a table for that development. What do we want this town to look like? How do we want to try and manage that growth? And really, we looked at it like we're going to set the table, and then let that development come in and see how we can. You can't control it, but you can kind of guide it, and you can we want this, we want that. So we really spent last year focusing on things that protect and preserve Port Royal and our culture, our heritage, and what we're really proud about. So we had our tree ordinance that we're really proud about, that we stepped up and is really strict to protect those specimen and live oak trees. We did a moratorium on large scale apartment buildings. And when I say moratorium, we just stopped new applications for that. We still have got 1,000 units that are in the pipeline, that are in some phase of planning. You don't know when those are going to start, because those are up to the developer when they want to do that. But so we've still got 1,000 units of multifamily that are coming on. So we just kind of pump the brakes on that large scale multifamily. We did something about storage units. We removed those from some of our codes, because we were seeing those pop up in a lot of really what we thought were valuable commercial areas. And while storage units are important, and it creates revenues and all that, it doesn't really create, like you were saying, something for children. It doesn't create really jobs. It doesn't really create, the kind of diverse economy that we were talking about. If you go down Rebo Road, you can look, especially in Port Royal, it is a lot of apartment complex, storage unit, apartment complex, storage unit. And so we were talking about how can we diversify that. And so we worked on the storage units to kind of open up, hopefully, some of that commercial corridor to other business opportunities. We also, ultimately, we just at the end of the year we did a short-term rental cap, got on one of those, which is kind of intended to protect and preserve and create that balance between investors but also neighbors, and creating and kind of preserving that neighborhood and community that is not just in Port Royal, but it's in the city of Beaufort. I know you guys have already had, addressed short-term rentals with y'all, but so that was the goal. That was what we did last year, was kind of work on this. And also Noah, hats off to him. He's been working through our planning code and doing a revamp of that. Kind of going through it, seeing what's working, what's not, where can we make changes, where can we cut some of the fat out, and where can we, again, try and guide this development, this growth that we know is coming. I mean, we all know that. So it's time, that's the reality of the situation. So it's what are we going to do to set that table? We're expecting in the next couple months we'll get an update from Noah. He's been having work sessions with our planning commission about what that code edits look like and those changes that we're trying to make to our development code. So we're looking forward to that. And so with us spending last year trying to set the table, now we're looking at 2025, and 2025 really for us is going to be a year of building. It's going to be a year of projects. It's going to be a year of things that we've been excited about getting started on. So some of those things are going to be, we've got the Sands Beach Park here in Port Royal, and that is, we love Sands Beach. It's open to the public. It's a free park. We love that about Port Royal. It doesn't matter who you are, your background, you can come to Port Royal, and it doesn't, your family, it's free. You can spend all day and have a good time with your family in Port Royal with our cypress wetlands, with our boardwalks, with the Sands Beach. But last year we saw a lot of flooding coming in and covering up the entrance to Sands Beach, and it was getting kind of dangerous. People were wading in and out. I mean, you see people waist deep in water with coolers trying to get to the beach. And so now we've invested over $1 million. We're building a causeway entrance to Sands Beach that's going to protect that amenity for the public to enjoy. We hope to see the Spanish Moss Trail coming across Rebo Road, which is going to be huge here. We hope to see that this year, and that'll be coming into the property. We're looking at building back our shrimp docks that we had to, we tore those down because Mother Nature was about to tear them down for us. And so we've got the money set aside for that, and we're working through some property issues with our partners at Safe Harbor, and we're hopefully getting back on those. So we've got some big projects. We're undergoing 2 stormwater projects right now here in the downtown area. On your way in, you might have seen some, at the top of Paris Avenue, there's a tractor and some orange mesh wrapped up. That's for that staging site. They're doing a drainage projects there. We're going to continue to expand our sidewalks. We want Port Royal to be walkable, safe, connected. Our sidewalk grid, we want it to be, again, where it's just something where families can come and spend the day, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. If you want to, we're happy to take it, but at the same time, you can come here and walk around and enjoy Port Royal. So our grids, we're doing speed bumps. Like I said, so last year we focused on setting the table, and I think now going forward, we're looking forward to building these, to start seeing some of these projects come to fruition that we're really excited about. Of course.
Save us some.
Yeah, of course.
Save
We
us
just,
some.
yeah, of course, we just have to build back our Henry Robinson boardwalk that was washed away during Helene, and so that's just kind of our goal for right here. But next, what you thinking?
So I got just a couple of real quick thoughts on boy. First and foremost, and it's very important, I'd like to introduce you to our new police chief. Chief, could you come up and say a word for us and introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and where you're from.
My name is Jeff Myers. I'm originally from Cleveland, born and raised.
Me too.
You a Browns fan?
I absolutely.
There you go.
That's enough.
Jumped out.
We're getting started.
Let's go. Ravens.
We don't like the Ravens. I already told you.
But then I moved down to Fort Myers, Florida, about 7-8 years ago, and worked as a deputy police chief for the city of Fort Myers there. Wanted to come to this area, so started looking at towns and cities, and Port Royal popped up. I've been here through my childhood with my parents, from the Beaufort area, Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head, and just kind of fell in love with the area and knew I wanted to come here when I officially finally retired. So the job came open, I applied, and I was blessed enough to come here. I'm very happy here. I tell everybody I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop because it's just too good here. A great council. Chief Price, your police chief, I've got a great relationship with her. She reached out to me right when I started. The communication has been fantastic, anything that I need. Sheriff Tanner, the same thing. He has been amazing, his department, giving us policies and really any questions I have. So I just glad to be here. If there's anything that I can do and our police department can do, please let us know. But you guys have a great police department, you have a great sheriff's department, and I'm just really happy to be here. So that's it.
You're doing a great job. Very, very happy.
So I'll say first, I think we hit a home run with that hire there.
Yes.
Good job. And I've seen him in the community a lot, and I think it's important for you to see the police in the community. He attends at school functions or community functions, all the council meetings. He's been very visible, and I think that's important. So thank you for what you're doing. You're off to a great start. And I just wanted to, two things real quick. Happy the county's here, and just want to kind of give a shout out about the splash pad that we're working together with the county on over at Bruce Edgerly Park. We hope to see that come to fruition. We've met a time or two, and I think we're headed in the right direction. We got some clarification, so we're glad the county's here with us tonight, and we're thankful for projects like that within our community, because that brings our community together. And Port Royal is truly a walking community, and we build sidewalks all the time because we want that connectivity and people walking to our parks. And then also we spend a lot of time over in Casablanca Park, and we've enhanced the park over in that neighborhood too, and have done a lot of drainage work over in there. So I'm real proud of the things we're doing over there. And there's a whole list of other things we're doing, and I'm gonna pass it along to my fellow council members. But thank y'all for being here. This is a special time. We appreciate it.
I think what should be or continue to be a priority is also community engagement, involving our community, our constituents, and so forth, hearing from them, being transparent. I also have on my list growing the economy by attracting the right type of businesses. You know, you can't put everything in a shoebox, so you have to attract the right kind of businesses, and of course, smart growth. You know, it's evident we are going to grow, but you have to do it strategically. As Mayor said earlier, you know, we pump the brakes on some things earlier so that we can just sit back and reassess these things and evaluate. Everyone is on everyone's list or priority list. Obtainable housing, you know, for everyone. You know, traffic reduction or speed reduction, I should say. Also, you know, that's a big, you know. We have the corridor that goes through, everything goes through Port Royal to get to Hilton Head, south of the Broad. And of course, the increasing accidents and so forth. Sewer for all, you know, that's a biggie also. Today, you know, there's no excuse why people should not be on sewer or be afforded that opportunity. You all touched on youth entertainment. Interestingly, I commented on the social media post last night. So they were asking about the new restaurant that's going up on Boundary. There used to be the Applebee's, and everyone was commenting on that, and they were speculating and so forth. And some of the comments they were saying, well, why don't they bring in a movie theater, or why don't they bring in such and such? And of course, and I responded also. I said, you know, local governments and counties and municipalities, you know, we offer incentives and tax breaks and so forth, but these are private investors. And, you know, we're not into building restaurants, because then again, your tax dollars is going to have to fund those restaurants and so forth. But our job in the government sector is to offer incentives and tax breaks to attract the right type of businesses and investors in our areas and so forth, including those type of amenities, you know, movie theaters and so forth. If you start building movie theaters and so forth, your tax dollars are going to have to sustain those things. Now, do you lump it in with the parks and recreation or something? You know, that's a consideration. But again, you know, the public needs to be educated on those also, because we get blamed for everything. You know, we get blamed for what's going on with the youths and so forth. So we have to do a better job in that area. And one thing that Mayor mentioned also about, you know, pedestrian-friendly community and so forth. I think we also have the streetscape of Paris Avenue, and we're going to be starting up there from Parker's, working our way in. So we're excited about that also. What's going to be going on here in Port Royal.
Wow, George, you think there's anything left for you and I?
We're going to have to pull something up. It can't go out like that,
That's right. That's right.
Can't go out like
So
that.
affordable housing. You know, we all need affordable housing. We also need wages. People can't afford to work and live in the same community because the wages are so low. And it's hard for people. So what we have to do is find a way to balance it. And I think that everybody's working together trying to get that done, and the different committees and different things. and back to the children, you know, Port Royal built that skate park. The city was gonna help us years ago, and we built it. And the county deeded the property to us to use for the skate park. And that was a great asset for the town, the county, and everybody has thoroughly enjoyed that property and enjoyed that skate park. But one thing is not enough to keep these children out of trouble. We've got to find things that get them entertained. You know, we've got the boardwalk, and it stays in the summer packed with people fishing and crabbing. So we're excited. Hopefully by the end of February, we'll have it ready and up and running again. I think it's important because that's families. It's a community. People come there because it's a community thing. People can go together and do it. It's not like send your kids off. They go down there and fish with their kids. And so we're trying to build that community where everybody does things together and not separate. Short-term rental, that was a real hard one, and I know the city of Beaufort had a lot of burns with that one too. We feel like we came up with a great plan. It's a compromise. I think that everybody can live with the way we've come up with the decision, and I'm proud of the short-term rental. I think that the committee did a great job in doing what they did. Like the mayor said, the Sands Beach, you know, as you go into the beach, we have a committee that's working on doing like a little pavilion and putting some picnic tables out. And, you know, people can go not only to the Sands and enjoy it, but the families can also, once again, come there and just have a little picnic in the area, or elderly people that want to go and just get out and they don't want to go out in the sun. It's something that they can do. But as we all know, it costs money. And we're all looking for that money to fill all these billets that we need to get done. And I think that the storage sheds, what we did there, it wasn't that we didn't like storage sheds. I just think that we were trying to attract businesses in our community, because that's what we need is businesses on our main corridor. We did not need storage sheds. We can put them anywhere else, but not on the main corridor. And I think, you know, Spanish Moss Trail coming to Trition, coming through, is going to be great, you know, from all the way up in Clairton, all the way home here to Port Royal, and it ends just like the train did from Yamasee. It's awesome. We hope one day that that last little piece will connect, and we'll be excited. So I think there's great things to come. 25 is going to be a big year, I think, for all of us, and I'm looking forward to helping bring those to an end and start on some new things for Port Royal and things to make it better, because we are one big community, and it's great that the city of Beaufort and the county and all of us can sit at this table together and work together for the betterment of all our communities in Beaufort County.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. We appreciate your time. And just being in space with you guys is amazing to me most days. Without saying and giving too many people away, they had me in the parking lot waxing cars. I guess that's what the new guy's supposed to do. And then
missed
the
a
mayor,
spot on mine.
then the mayor finally let me in. They even fed me today. So
did a great job.
just a couple things. You know, most days I kind of move around, and my military brain gets the better of me. But we talk about a lot of things, and one of the things that I don't see or hear us engage in groups like this is emergency management. And I know we have people that do that, but it's imperative for us, I think, to discuss it at tables like these, so we're understanding asset allocation, funding available for that stuff, and then any other steps that we can take with regard to the community and what assets we have that exist there. In the military, we have a program called DSCA, DISCO we call it. It's Direct Support Civilian Authorities. So we get taskers from municipalities to bring us out. And what we have to often do is ignore the priorities that exist within our own spheres to help the civilian population. And I don't know, maybe a discussion to begin here in a I guess water-prone area is what assets look like here within our civilian groups, and if there's any room for us to allocate some or grant some authority to maybe a civilian-led force that can help us in those times to free up our first responders, maybe our military folks that are trying to get those multi-million-dollar jets out of here. Because they're not cheap, they're just not. That's one of the kind of things that I like to do and think about. But I'd like to probably see that this year, and when we meet again, to maybe have that as a point on an agenda. When I first got into or thought I was going to run, you know, I started considering a lot of you guys because you guys were all in office, and one of the three things that I came back with was, engaging people, encouraging them, and then empowering them. And I think that's something as we move forward, getting out of our vernacular, getting ready for the growth that's happening, and engaging, encouraging, and empowering our citizens, and being ready for what's about to happen with us. And I mean, they're more creative than we are in the room most days because there's a lot more. Really proud. I never thought I'd ever say this in public because I never understood it until I got on this council and I've been around all of you. I'm extremely proud of the presentation we had at our workshop last week from Beaufort Jasper Water Sewer Authority and all the work that they're doing here for us. And again, if you pay somebody money, you're not usually like, I'm so excited about that person. But the work they're doing here and the utility they're providing for our citizens, guarding what's really important to us, and doing it in a manner that gives everybody a say in how and the reason they're being treated the way they're being treated with that utility is amazing to me. And again, the relationship we share with them, I hope you guys share the same one because I love the relationship that we have with Charlie and the team. And again, I never thought I'd catch myself saying that in public, speaking about sewer, stormwater and stuff. It's really impressive to me, the work that goes into that stuff and how that young team makes it seem so easy. So, again, thank you for letting me address you. I really do. I wake up every morning, I'm excited to know that I can communicate with you guys at any point that I choose. But again, those conversations are very pointed because I know we all got a lot of stuff to do. So, looking forward to tonight.
Just quickly also, and because this is being televised also, and this is a great way to start the year off, just by the presence of that we have here tonight, from the business community, from first responders, to county council, the school board, and both municipalities. So that's commendable, and I would love to see these types of collaboration continue. And as I said, this is a great way to start 2025.
Absolutely. And really quick, I'll say, I think we should give a round of applause to our historic county council chair and chair, vice chair. First one in history, yeah. That's pretty great. That's pretty great. I love seeing that and reading that. I love how that happened. So yeah. So well, I know we're sitting with us, but just while we're going, Dick, any from the school board?
You know, the school board has been living on an island by itself for a generation, I think. And because of that, we have in Bluffton 3 middle schools in a 5-mile radius because we weren't involved with the community in the planning and we reacted. We're about to have Bluffton here. And if we don't start talking to one another, and if the school board doesn't reach out to understand your planning and your plans, so we can do the planning that we need to put the right facilities in the right places. So you're going to see school board members at your county council meetings, at your city council meetings, to listen, to understand where you're going, where we're going, and how we can help be there. That's one thing, the growth that we have to deal with. Secondly, because we've been on an island, we haven't been sharing our facilities. That's going to stop. We have gyms, we have auditoriums. They're not being used on the weekends. We gotta open them up so we have more facilities and more options for our children, for our arts and so on. So this is a coming out of the island moment. And you're gonna see a lot more of us.
Glad to hear that. And he was at our meeting this week, and we're glad to have you. And county council is also always there. We're glad to have you.
That's great.
Mr. Coletti's usually at our meeting too.
So we'll just kind of keep it going, Ms. Brown.
I really don't have anything to say. I'll let our
But like I said, we
vice
really
chair.
appreciate you coming up here. It
And,
means a lot.
well, thank you for
What
inviting
district
us,
are
and
you
the food
again?
is great, anytime you.
District 8.
Which one?
Oh,
Tell me
tell
which
her
one
it's
that is.
I'm District 8.
Geographically.
I'm District 8, that's Rose Hill,
Okay,
all the way down to Moss Creek,
okay,
and I have a little bit of Alljoy,
okay.
and a slice of Hilton Head Plantation.
McCracken, is that in that? Is McCracken school?
No,
Is that?
I think that's Mark
MC
Wilson.
Riley, yeah.
Or it might be Logan, it's not me.
MC Riley, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
MC Riley.
MC Riley is Mark Lawson.
Right.
Definitely Mark Lawson.
I got you. I was just trying, okay. Got it.
I have
Well, welcome.
Pine Island as part of Alljoy.
Yeah.
Ms. Tab, Vice Chair.
So I'm District 6, and just to show you where that is, I'm way out of my realm. It's Sun City all the way down to New Riverside. And right now, the growth is just exploding in New Riverside. And one of the interesting thing is residents there think the county's building. They don't get it, that part of it's Bluffton, and okay, so that's a dichotomy we have to talk about all the time. I'm very excited with what we're gonna do. One of the things we're working on is regaining public trust. Hate to put it out there, but it is a reality. You know, our referendum went down, so we have challenges with transportation. I live by the 170 triangle. If any of you go 170 to 278, you understand our pain. Okay, and then you have, and we're working with Jasper County because Argent Boulevard comes in there, but right now, the funding is not there. And of course, Mr. Moore will probably talk about the 278 corridor is weighing heavily on everybody's mind. But more importantly to me is connecting with the community, and somebody just said that. So one of the things we started last year, we had 4 chat with council. That means you come and you talk and we listen. There's no agenda, we only ask that you be respectful and not throw things, okay, so. And we had 4, I thought they were all successful. We're doing 1 every month this year, 1 south of the Broad next week, and 1 north of the Broad the next month. So we're trying to move around, and also we're moving our council meetings around. So although the county center is in Beaufort, we will be holding council meetings at Buckwalter, Hilton Head Library, Bluffton. We're gonna move around. And then when we're under construction, we're going to be using your media facility. So I'm very excited that we're gonna get out with the community, and we've had people come to our meetings, so chat with council to me is an important one. One of the things we just talked about yesterday, I think, I don't know, the days fly past me, is what we all argue about, wants versus needs versus money. Because everybody, I would love more recreational facilities. I'm totally jealous for the splash pad. I've been harping on the splash pad for Beaufort County for 2 years.
Come on up.
Yeah, well.
I'll meet you there. Yeah.
Actually, when we opened the playground here, the accessible playground, I said, why are we not putting a splash pad here?
I remember, I was right there.
So I'm very excited about that, but we need other recreational facilities for young families to stay. I mean, I live in a senior community, I get it, we have 18,000 people 55 and over, that's great, but we're not the future of Beaufort County or Bluffton. So I would like to see more of our activities, particularly south of the Broad where we have explosion in growth. We need ball fields, we need soccer fields, we need recreational facilities, and I'm excited that we're gonna collaborate with the school district. You know, when I first came on council, the first thing the school district sent me was a bill for using Robert Small. I'm like, what? Robert Smalls is paying to use our field? Why? So we've come through that, and I applaud the school district for working with us on that. So we're looking for more collaboration. And more collaboration with all of you. I mean, I don't live on this part, so I know Alice comes to your meetings and I wander through Bluffton and Hilton Head. I watch some of your meetings online when I am awake at 2 a.m. So I watch a lot of meetings and pick up things from all of you. So those are some of the things we're working on. To me, balancing our needs with our wants, and we have to absolutely collaborate with the municipalities. So I'm really excited you invited us tonight. And Alice and I pledge to be, I'm going to use the T word, transparency. But honestly, it's so misunderstood in a lot of ways. Like every time you go into executive session, they say you're not being transparent. Well, there are some things you have to do behind a closed door. So, but we're aiming to reduce the number of times we go to executive session. We've changed our agenda to mirror the school districts. We're going to do our caucus first and then go into our council meeting. I picked that up from attending, I'm the liaison to the school district. So I'm very excited about some of the things we've learned, and we can continue to learn from all of you.
Great. Thank
Awesome.
you.
What's up there?
Well, not a lot left to
I know,
say. We did make some changes right away, but we're also having a workshop on the 4th of February where we're going to talk about our goals for the coming year.
Great.
And y'all are invited to come and watch or watch it whenever you feel like it on the TV, on our channel.
Is that at 6
The
o'clock?
collaboration with the school district regarding the recreation facilities that came about this year was great. I remember a day when you weren't allowed to walk on the track field at Beaufort Middle. You were forbidden it after hours, and that was a different administration, a different board. So now anyone can walk the track field if they want to in the Mossy Oaks area. One thing I'm going to let Mike announce, which I think y'all already heard a little bit about from Brooke, the boat dock, which is so important to all of us at the Sands. And I don't know if he has anything else to share or not. Y'all know, both the city and the town know you can always call me about anything, and I'll follow up. And David's sick tonight, so he would have been here, but he's not feeling well. So. But we want to do more joint meetings. And we're, Bluffton and Hilton Head are going to see us too more often. Yep.
When I say this, when you're doing the chat with the council, if you ever want to do one in here, let us know, and we'll definitely promote it, and push that out. So please just let us know.
And we don't have staff there for a
Right,
reason.
no staff.
We just listen and we can answer back. So it's on purpose that we, it's just
And it's
us.
not televised.
And it's not
I was
televised.
putting that schedule together, like I said, just keep this room in mind. So,
Okay.
yeah,
And
we'll
I'm
have one
even
in Fort
happy to
Worth.
come this side of the broad.
Thank you. We love having you.
It's only 20-something miles.
We
What's the
take good care
difference?
of you also, so we feed you.
Oh, so if you come to our meetings, we don't feed you.
Okay.
Just so you know, you come to our workshop, you won't get
It's because we're about to ask you for something, too. I'm just-
That's okay, but you're not gonna get fed, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tell them about looking.
Yeah, just to follow up, so the boat dock, I know it's been long anticipated. We do have the materials for the floating portion of that. They've arrived, they're on, and we're working through. FEMA's actually going to come out and take a look at it for the reimbursement portion of that. And then we'll be removing the old ones and installing the new ones. Given the weather next week, we were hopeful next week, it may be next week, but we'll just have to see how weather plays out. But we're hoping to get that done in short order now that we have the materials.
Will they be looking at the lanes in the boat dock, or will they just be looking at the dock itself?
Because there's a lot of buildup, it said, when you go to back out.
There-
it's like-
You're talking about the cleaning? Yes, that is going to be addressed by
Okay, cool.
Public Works, yeah.
Good, that's glad to hear that.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
That's great news. And thank you, Alice. You've always been, every time I've reached out about that, because you were always had an answer for me, and I really appreciate that. So, yeah, so that was good. Like I said, thanks to everybody for just kind of, what we're thinking, where our heads are at going forward. Now it's kind of collaborative initiatives, and we'll just kind of see how this goes. One thing, I'll just kind of kick this off, because I wrote this down, and it kind of tees up with a few things you said. Speaking of the boat landing, and you were talking about emergency management, and now we're talking about maybe bad weather next week. We all remember Helene. That was not fun. I mean, we were nowhere near, thank God not North Carolina or any of those places, absolutely, but we still had damage here. And so kind of planning for those going forward. I'd like to hear from the city, like, situations like that, what do y'all have in place? What do y'all, when something like that's coming through? I mean, and how can we work better on that? I mean, of course, just calling each other, but.
Yeah. We have protocols in place to lower our lagoons where we can.
Okay.
Be sure that our tidal reception areas are as clean as possible. In fact, our public works crews are out literally 24 hours a day at low tide. Every day they're out there making sure that they're as low as they can be, so they can accept the inundation that comes in. They spend a great deal of time doing that. We are fully mobilized with our public works department. Our entire police department, our entire fire department are on duty for the duration of the storm. And we respond fairly quickly. We work with the utilities when we have a downed tree that's blocking a road. That was a point of contention with this last storm. We had more trees that came down than I think any of us anticipated. The narrative at the time was that we were not prepared. That is a false narrative. We were prepared, but we were surprised. Yeah. And we were surprised because the forecast changed last minute. Mm-hmm. There was a great degree of confidence in the forecast up until the time the storm hit. Mm-hmm. And then it became something different. Yeah. And so the utilities pre-position their resources where they think the storm is going to hit. And when the storm decides to change its mind, then that throws a monkey wrench in everything. So we had a lot of trees down that we could not remove right away because we had live power lines in them. So we can't do anything with that. So that was a point of frustration, and that's an area where I think there might be some room for improvement with the utility companies. I think they have some lessons learned as well from this, and so I think we'll get better as far as that goes. But we have protocols in place to prepare as best as possible for the storms, for the conditions that we anticipate. So.
I have one comment tonight. I appreciate the way you celebrated Frank Mueller last night in his retirement. I thought that was pretty classy. I know Frank for many years, and he gave 37?
34.
How many years?
34.
34 years. and a lot of overtime, a lot of free time, a lot of just out in those storms, running those chainsaws, cutting trees, power light, stop lights, doing all that. So that's a legend right there. Yeah. I appreciate the way y'all recognize him. I thought it was pretty classy.
Yeah, Frank was truly the heart of our public works
Absolutely.
team. And that's an excellent team.
100%.
Speaks well of him.
I'll just jump in real quick and make a comment because we were talking about the emergency response and kind of dovetail into what Jorge was talking about earlier, and that's the community response team. I think as an overlapping initiative, there could be value. And I say that for several reasons, but one, because I was a very, very, very small part of the response team, or one of the response teams in North Carolina, and the thing that stood out to me was the amount of resources that were donated, packaged, and then the overwhelming number of volunteers who showed up to work several hours through the night, making the trip to North Carolina, excavators, chainsaws, all of the resources that you would need. And I know that there's limitations due to safety concerns, but there are people in our community that are just waiting for the opportunity and the invitation to jump in and help, and we really don't have to depend on government or state response. It's nice when it comes, but there's value in tapping into the resources that exist in our community. So I appreciated the comments from Jorge, and I agree completely that a response team and a collaborative one to work for both municipalities, given the opportunity, is of value.
I agree.
So when you say like a citizens group, would that be like a standing citizens group, like volunteer emergency group?
For us, and this is not a brand new conversation. So I've had this conversation with members in the community as well. And actually, one of them's here tonight. So he's even gone to great lengths to kind of write out what that would look like. But basically, for us, it would be a matter of understanding what resources exist, and then maybe having some kind of mock drills, having some kind of communication hub to where they know and we know how to get a hold of these members who we know are willing to volunteer and be a part of the response. So I think for us it's more of an understanding and then an organization, like an oversight. But that's what I see our role in it as.
Well, and I'll just say, I think one of the things that we tried to do during that was, because there was a lot of things that you couldn't do. Like you said, we called them in and we were like, can we clean it up? And they were like, do not touch it. So, but one thing we tried to do, and I think was just try to just be as present as we could, be as, vocal as we could, and communicate as much as we can. So I think, we have a hurricane season here every year. I will bet money there will be a hurricane this year at some point. So we just got to be prepared for those in any way that our teams can work, on that, and just know that when that hits us, we're all in the same boat. So, any way we can communicate that and join resources. I will ask, because this is one thing that we've talked about, and we're going to bring up our retreat. I know we talked about, y'all have solar on your town hall, correct?
Yeah, we do.
And fire station.
How does that working on town hall? Because we've talked about that here, because one thing, when the power went down here, we had people saying, I wish there was like some place we could go just to charge a phone, some place we could go just like a hub in town that was like a circuit board. Yeah, and we did have, the Oktoberfest going on, so there was, so we were having a party, but and we had people asking
until the minute before the festival started.
But so we thought we've started having that discussion about solar panels, and would that make town hall more resilient? And so y'all have that. Is that?
Well, we do, but it doesn't really help during storms. That helps during the day-to-day.
So it doesn't charge and stay up.
Saves
Oh,
you
okay.
money.
What does if you have a generator? So we don't have a generator in our case, so we're hooked up to the grid, and the solar panels themselves have optimizers that have to have energy in order to start up and pull or draw the sunlight. But you could have a generator, backup generator, to where it charges and it's like on a battery, so it cycles itself. And then if you lose power, the power comes from the battery, hits the optimizer, and the solar panels are on. But right now, the way it stands is if the grid goes out, the solar panels are out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Years ago, we did an energy audit. Johnson Controls came in. You remember that, Mike? And they gave us a proposal, and they upgraded everything. And the savings has been pretty significant.
Okay.
So it's been saved us some money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you win. And so I don't know what it is now. I have solar panels on my house, and I have 33 of them. And when I got them 2 years ago, there was the tax credits. So essentially, you would pay the cost for the panels, you get a loan, and then over the course of 5 years, you'd get tax credits back to the tune of about 40% of the total cost. So that's where it was beneficial to get them. And then as far as savings goes, it's definitely far more efficient. My electric bill was reduced almost to just the amount that it takes to keep the panels on in summer peak time, and then you kind of build up credits that you can use in the winter.
Oh, wow. Okay. So.
How heavy is each panel approximately? What's the weight?
Ooh. I'd be shooting from the hip on that. I don't know how heavy they are.
I just wonder what
my roof's held them for 2 years so far.
Right.
Hopefully it continues.
Don't you have to replace them every 20 years or so?
So the way I know at least what the stats were on the ones that I got were they were to remain about 80% of their capacity through the course of 25 years. So at 25 years, it would still be operating at pretty peak level. I don't know how true that is, but I know that's what led me. One of the reasons why I got the ones that I did is the longevity. But there's also, you could lease them, and I think that's where you get the trouble comes in, is because you lease them for 20 years, and then whoever you're leasing them from is coming back to either get the panels or, but you don't own them. And so when you own them and you get the tax credits, that's where it's beneficial. But if not, whoever does own them, that you're leasing them from, is going to get those tax credits and benefit. So.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's some great ideas. Anything else from anybody? Just kind of we're going to hit some topics here. Anything else on emergency management?
Not on emergency management, but in talking about the school board, the school district, I think, has, I would think, significant property, at least certain areas like the district office and all that, because of affordable housing, because of the need for teachers. That land, they could, I know you don't want to get in the rental business and all that type of thing, but with a long-term ground lease with a developer, build teacherages or something like that on available property for your first year, your teachers as a way of offsetting the cost for them to live here. Because a lot of times I go out to restaurants and I just talk with the waiter or waitress, and they say, oh yeah, I'm a school teacher during the day. I'm supplementing my income by working at night. So I think that's something that the school district should probably consider if you've got the land. Or if you've got old schools you're going to do away with, convert those over to
We do have the land, and we do have space. Unfortunately, the state puts big restrictions on what we can do with that. They have to give it out to say, is this a charter school, like to have it first? There's a lot of restrictions, and we've been trying to we got rid of some property up by Habersham, and we've got some property up on Ladies Island we need to get rid of, and we got some property
In Lobico.
on Lobico.
Some in the city of Beaufort, you got right by Beaufort Dale. It could be used.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing is, every one of our schools now, and part of the referendum, we've got emergency generators in every school. Mostly it's there to keep our automation stuff hot, but it also has excess capacity. And we also have a solar farm by the district office that I've got to check with my folks and find out what kind of capacity that has for emergency management. We also we've learned in our incident at Beaufort High School, we had the Fultz shooting, that we didn't have a proper response equipment. So now we have a completely outfitted trailer.
Mobile command center.
That has everything you need to set up and handle an emergency operations. And that, obviously if it happens at the school, that's going to go to the school. But if you had one someplace, we have one at the district office and one up in Bluffton. So that's available. We have to make sure that we share with you our assets so that you put it in your tool bag as something that you can use.
Pretty impressive.
I didn't know that. That's great.
And it's
And
pretty
Great,
impressive.
Chief.
And that's why it's so important for these meetings, joint meetings, so that we can see what revenues or what assets y'all have that'll benefit all of us, or what we have that can benefit somebody else. And as a team, we can be the best in the state. We just have to work together.
If you don't mind,
Yeah.
small little side note on your emergency management. I mean, let's be honest, 90% of what you all do and what everyone does is online. What kind of resources besides a regular cell phone are you all gonna have? Everyone runs these programs, your fire departments, your police departments, they need computer access, they need satellites, they need whatever. Have you thought about getting Starlink or anything like that for our emergency management, for our government buildings? I mean, at least looking into it.
Yeah.
I mean, because Starlink, the equipment's a couple $100. It's not a couple $1,000. You're talking about spending thousands of dollars on,
Is that Elon Musk?
generators.
Starlink.
You can run Starlink off of a truck. You can, almost every truck that's come out since 2020 almost has a regular household outlet in it. You can plug that program right into a truck and get Starlink running. You can read reports from people out of North Carolina, and they're talking, you're getting 50 to 100 feet from that Starlink hub worth of data. So you get a building like this, you get it set in the right spot, you can have your government officials come in and actually have access to internet, and the police and fire departments can come here and run their online programs and dispatch. That's just something you might want to think about when you're talking about emergency management, talking about having power. It's not only power. You need cell phones, you need data, you need to be able to stay in constant communication. Yeah, power is important, but communication is right next to it.
Yep.
And I'll just tie into that too, because I have a Starlink, and it is very easy to set up and it's very mobile. Again, I guess that goes back to, even if we don't have it, understanding who in the community does have one, because you could just take it anywhere and set it up, and they actually have it now to where you don't have to have the service on all year round. You can have it on month by month. So if you're going to use it in August or September, whenever, you could pay for that month, and then for the rest of the year that you're not using it, you could pack it away and put it in storage.
Good information.
If it's turned off, can it just turn back on?
Just
or-
turns back on, yeah. So it's just a matter of,
Okay.
it's basically, it's Elon Musk. Everything Elon Musk is really well thought out and pretty easy to use for the most part. And so it's literally just two cords plugged in to 110 volts, and you're up and running.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good information.
No, that's good stuff. And like I said, that just ties in because we might, who knows, there won't be a hurricane, but next week we're talking about snow and all kinds of
Some
stuff.
weather-related
Snowmageddon.
Really snow 3 inches, that's nothing.
Seven to 8
Snowmageddon.
inches.
18 inches, 24 inches. I'll
Cleveland,
talk
I
to
get
you.
it. Cleveland.
Yeah, but here.
Yeah, but you know what? You might can do it, but these people down here that ain't used to it, we do hurricanes, y'all do snow. And people can't drive half the time anyway, let alone try to drive in the snow.
Wait on the black ice.
It's horrible.
Shut down.
You know, before we get too far away from the comment that you made in regards to property, the thing that came to mind immediately was the community land trust model, where, you know, if it's not the school board, for, you know, the municipalities as well, right now, you know, we don't have the option. And it's the thing that you hear all the time when you talk about affordable housing is the inclusionary zoning. And some may know better than me, but I know that last year, the beginning of the year, there was a bill introduced to the Senate. Senate Tedder, I believe, he put out a bill for inclusionary zoning to where counties and municipalities with a population greater than 50,000 would have the opportunity to implement a policy for inclusionary zoning. So maybe that comes out. Hopefully that comes out. At least I think it'd be a good idea. But we could potentially get ahead and have a policy that's kind of sitting in the queue in case some kind of statute comes out that allows us to have inclusionary zoning. But we could move forward with a community land trust model where the home and the land is separated, and you have an entity that owns the land, and then the individual just buys the house, and the value of the land stays in affordable range. And typically that's a good way to keep your costs down for the house, and they usually sign a 99-year lease to make sure that it stays there. So
one thing, and Phil and I were on the Affordable Housing Coalition for years. I hope that bill does pass, but it's been in the queue since 2015. Long time. But there are other options. The county and the city have done, and we're working on a list of our extra land. But the partnership that y'all did with the Housing Authority, and we have land that we're working on a partnership with Beaufort Memorial Hospital that we bought from TCL, and you can do deed restrictions on the underlying property so that it is never, kind of like Habitat does. Same thing that Habitat Humanity does.
Yeah, what we did, just to bring everybody up to speed, a couple of years ago, we had some available property, I think some old pump station land or whatever it was, but we had some property. And we gave the corner of North Street and Rebo, we gave it to the Beaufort Housing Authority. They have the Low Country Housing Rehabilitation Group, and they funded it. And they built it looks like two single-family homes with Beaufort-style architecture, so to speak. They're quads in each one, so they're 4 apartments, and they're affordable, like $800 or something like that to $1,000. We also had some property just the other side of Beaufort Middle that we gave to, I think, Habitat for Humanity. And they built a couple of homes in there. But I don't think we have any other large tracts of land that we can donate anymore. Although we have some land up by our Commerce Park that 20 acres we could probably give, but it's in the AQs. So that kills that right there.
We're still working on our list of land, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
But we know we have some land that could be used that way.
Excess.
And I'm wondering if sheriff sales, tax sales, if something comes up that's a big enough piece of property, I don't know. I mean, you can have some small ones for some single-family homes, but maybe some of it's big enough you could do a quadplex or something like that. Things that need to be looked at.
One thing we've done concerning the homeless, I think it's a good thing. We had community services and land use as one committee. We've split them back up. So as community services hopefully will receive more emphasis with county council. And, homeless counts a point in time. Those are only as accurate as the day they're taken. And, y'all had the fire at the homeless camp near Goodwill, I think, not too long ago. That was in the city, I think.
It was.
Yes.
Yeah, but it could have been in the county just as easily. So I don't pretend to know the answer to it, but as our population grows, our homeless will grow.
And I'll tell you another thing that affects the city of Beaufort maybe more than other places. We have the detention center. And when those people get arrested, they get out, they have no transportation to take them back to, I'm sure a bunch of them are down from Bluffton, Hilton Head area, maybe, I don't know, but they can't get back there, so they end up staying in our parks. And so that's an issue that we have to deal with.
Does Bluffton have a homeless problem?
Oh, yeah.
We do?
We have it on 170, we have it in Bluffton.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. But ours are, the one on 170 is really in the woods. I mean, we have people in Sun City that actually gather food and canned goods and take them to them because it's in the woods. Yeah, we have a problem.
And they're all over, because I participated in Point in Time, and we went out and counted them and so forth, in the woods and under the bridges and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, Josh, you did that, didn't you?
I did. How did you feel in the rain going in the woods at midnight?
Well, we did it. It was rain. It was wet.
It's like the worst day that you can do it out of the year.
Cardboard tents and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's a better plan this year, it sounds like, to have the point in time count at, my understanding anyway, is the Washington Street Park, and then there's a mobile shower that will
That's
be
coming
there.
up soon, isn't it?
Something to kind of
every year, January.
every year in January.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing we really hadn't talked about is, you know, we talked about the emergency response and stuff, but you know, a great asset that Beaufort County has is our military bases, that we should bring them to the table, because I'm sure the military would be glad to help us on certain things, and they probably have more assets when it comes to emergency stuff than we do. And if we could coordinate between them and us, they could be awesome.
That's true, but you would have to get, like, Congresswoman.
So we can bring one of the congressmen down.
Nancy Mace.
Yeah, Nancy will come, right?
We have a council member that's, that, I mean, knows her fairly well, so.
We do, yeah.
Yeah, okay, you do too?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's who you have to get involved.
She comes here quite often.
Federal.
Yeah, and that would be but I'm just saying it'd be a good asset.
Yeah, right.
Because the military does have a lot of stuff. And, you know, maybe they could help, because I know a lot of times if we have certain things in the town, we call the military and they send people over to help us, some of their men. So what better resource to try to work with them to let them be a part of this community.
Up in Virginia, where I moved from, you're talking about storage units. People were renting those because they're air conditioned and heated, and you could rent one for like $200 a month, and they could afford that.
They discovered a few residents in Hardyville, and some of them also. Yeah.
The homeless, because you did the point in time and you did that class. Is there any information about the homeless that we're seeing? Is that just with your population growth? You know, out of this many people, a certain amount's going to be homeless. So as your population grows, your homeless is just going to grow. Are these people that were not homeless but they're becoming homeless? Is this people that are homeless and they're transient and they
It's a
came
combination.
here?
You have some people that have this challenge. You have some veterans. It's a mixture of people, really. So you don't have one particular type, you know. Because we had resources. We had someone from the Department of Governmental. He came out there just to see if anyone had any military experience, so he can provide them with resources and get them help and so forth. And then some of them are just mentally challenged.
The VA did something that Alice and I attended.
Yeah, they had all those
VA,
resources there, yeah.
And they brought all the resources together, like Josh was talking about, having a centralized place.
Right.
Yeah, Mitch, you were there.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the homeless.
Yes.
And I'm going to give credit. It's not my idea, but I thought it was a wonderful idea. I don't think it's gotten any traction. I think it was Ms. Ramirez from the county.
Yeah.
Came over to brief us a couple of years ago, I guess it was. And Phil touched on maybe the homeless population in Beaufort grows because the detention centers in Beaufort, someone from Bluffton or Hilton Head is released in our city, and then they kind of tend to stay there. Ms. Ramirez shared that, and I do think that the homeless problem should be something that government should deal with. I know we have these philanthropic organizations, churches and so forth that does it, but I don't think that should be the primary way to take care of our homeless folks. So what she shared is that, and these folks need services, right? And I'll give you the example that really touched my heart. So during the last campaign, I'm standing in front of City Hall holding up signs and trying to get people to vote for me. And a gentleman that I gave a shirt to back in 20 came by. And when I gave him that shirt in 20, I said, great idea, because he's riding his bicycle all over town. He's got my shirt on. Great advertisement, right? So fast forward 24, I saw him at the Kmart shopping center area, and he said, hey, Mitch, you have any more of those shirts? And I said, yeah. He said, I need a shirt. So that was like on a Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. On Saturday, I saw him riding by City Hall, and I'm up there holding signs again. He didn't have my shirt on. And I said to him, where's my shirt? He said, man, that shirt's dirty. You have any more shirts? So I gave him another shirt. And I said, why aren't you wearing my shirt? He said, where am I going to wash it? You know, and it's kind of like when you stuck your foot in your mouth, right? So I go back to what Mr. Ramirez said. If Port Royal and Bluffton and Hilton Head and City of Beaufort had a small place, whatever the size should be, because in talking to Claude, he said, you know, ask him why do people become homeless. He said because most folks are living just a little bit beyond their paycheck. They lose their job, they live with a family member for a while, dynamics of that fall apart, and they're in their car. So that's the common road. But they still need services. They have toothaches, you know, they have stomach aches, they need whatever, maybe something just because they've got a bad cold. But if each municipality had a place in their jurisdiction so that these folks don't have to leave to go somewhere, they're living in the woods, but they know that on a Monday, the doc is going to be there, medical. Maybe on the Wednesday, the dentist is going to be there, or whatever service. And after a while, that becomes kind of, the word gets out. So now, at least we can provide some service for them. Because right now, where are they going to go if they have these problems?
Don't Comprehensive Health have a similar program where they can go to Comprehensive Health?
And there's Good Neighbor.
And where's Comprehensive
And
Health?
Good Neighbor.
And how are they going to get there?
Well, here's
They're
an
right here,
answer
right
to
here in
that.
Port Royal.
Till we get a trolley system of public transportation.
But my point is
I was asking, but don't they have those resources?
If they're homeless in Bluffton, I suspect their relatives are somewhere close. They probably want to be in Bluffton.
Right.
And same thing in Beaufort. So I'm thinking that it helps, one, give them some service. Two, it doesn't, I don't have the data statistics on it, but I've heard enough that I think it's true, just heard it from Phil, that then you don't have the city of Beaufort being burdened unnecessarily more heavy than any place else. So, you know, I think that's something that's worth being explored, that there's a place where homeless folks can get service in every municipality. And I've heard folks also say that, yeah, you can't make a person stay in a sheltered place. I agree. But that doesn't mean you should not try to shelter the ones who want to stay in a place, you know, over their heads. 'Cause I can imagine how miserable it must be sleeping outside on a night like the ones we've had recently.
To the transportation aspect, that's one of the big issues because they can't get around a lot of them. But also, this is not my idea, but I read somewhere where the confiscated bicycles that the police department gets, and they either give them away or whatever, why not give them to the homeless? At least they've got transportation to get somewhere.
And maybe we could have some kind of dialogue with Palmetto Breeze also, because, you know, they're government funded
Sure.
as well. And perhaps they can have a hub where these people can go to and they can get them because they leave from Beaufort, they go to Bluffton, they go to Hilton Head. And perhaps in that proximity, of course, we can't take them to Savannah or Jasper, because Palmetto Breeze does go to Jasper, but again, getting them at the table as well, because they are government supported. And perhaps that's a start as well. And any given day with a schedule, then those individuals will know to report to that hub, and then they can provide them with this transportation or shuttle back to their community.
So, Ms. Howard, I remember a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago at Soloco, they were talking about possibly super regional, like a detention center, super regional, maybe shelter for the homeless, you know, multi-county. Is that still?
Well, the sheriff, you know, the county purchased land in Okatee for law enforcement. So
Okay, I mean, it was like a detention center. They're talking about
perhaps for juveniles.
like out in the country in like Yemassee area, out in the country or somewhere like that. They had talked about it a while back.
Yeah, just the Beaufort County law enforcement.
Okay,
Center is the
yeah,
only
but I
thing
mean
that's
for a
happened.
detention center, is there any still talk about that?
No.
Well, actually, Councilman Passman made a comment about it at the last local meeting because he was doing a presentation on what the priorities should or could look like.
Those were his priorities.
Right.
It hasn't been.
He brought it up as he brought a regional detention center up as something. So I guess it's still
I
circulating.
believe it was Sheriff Tanner was there at
Well,
that time, and he was the one that had
He wants,
proposed it.
of course, he wants, I mean, the land's been bought for the law enforcement
Yeah,
center.
but I mean, for a detention center, he had talked about it, and then
Yeah.
also somebody else had
everybody's
mentioned.
talked about it, but
Well,
the
they've all
money's
talked
there.
about putting it at the cooler tract, which is on 170,
Yeah, but
making
there's
it a
no
law
money.
enforcement center, detention center. I mean, Jasper County's interested.
But the detention center,
juvenile.
I would disagree, is not necessarily part of that.
Okay,
No, I
okay,
mean,
but they
what
talked
the
about
sheriff
a
wants-
I thought
multi-county
the detention center would stay where it is.
It
Back then.
depends. Right now, there's no funding anyway, so it's a
Okay.
dream.
This
But
is
then
about 2 or
think
3
about
years ago.
when you release from the
I don't have any
detention
money.
center there, where would the people go to?
Not here.
No, but they'd be dropped on 170 in the middle of nowhere, then go to
It
Oldfield.
doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
I think
We could guide him to
I think
Sun
they said
City.
District 6.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's not, that's District 5.
Sun City, I think they're going to.
But
No,
the
I
good
think they
news-
wanted
the
to go
good
to
news
District
is,
6.
too, as many of y'all may know,
I know.
Palmetto Breeze is getting funding to do a master plan for North
We have
Beaufort
family
County
members.
because we're now been classified as
Over
a small
50,000.
urban area, which will
We talked
increase.
about that Tuesday.
Yeah, will increase viability for
Trolley,
transportation.
transit, public
Great.
Yep.
Right. I'm
Well, that
excited
was all
about
part of the referendum plan too, public transportation in
Yeah.
there.
Now that you bring it up, that's another
Resiliency.
topic we need to talk about. I think the referendum failed in large part because it was too late, too little too late. And it should have started, if you're gonna do a campaign like that, after the green tax passed. It wasn't done. And so now, this one failed, so what's next?
Good question, but stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Discuss that on the
On the 4th of February.
Because it's either gonna be a school or it's gonna be transportation. It seems like that's
I guess school
these
has had enough.
referendums, that's the way it operates, but, and I'm gonna make a plug for this, but I think we ought to consider at some point, Beaufort's one of 3 or 4 counties in the state that do not have a local option sales tax. And the beauty of that is, we get some money, we get 29% of the money collected, a lot of it's collected by tourists too, but 71% of that money goes for property tax rollback. And that's a benefit to the taxpayer.
Yep.
And it's something that should be considered as an extra revenue stream that we certainly could use, because every year at budget time, we're like, are we gonna make it? That kind of thing.
We've got some big, you've got Waterfront Park, we got the Ladies Island, Reebok Road intersection, we didn't get the money to fix that.
I know.
Yeah.
You got the 170 triangle, which is a mess, 462.
Oh, I
That
know.
goes to evacuation, resiliency.
To add to what he said, and I'll just be honest with you, I'll be the honest guy at the table, I think there were some trust issues prior to, and
That's
I
what I
think
started
we've
with.
ironed those out,
That's what
right?
it was, bottom line.
We've
I think
ironed
it
it
made-
out,
made a
and we've
great
got
start.
great leadership here, and we see this collaboration, so I think moving forward, the trajectory is in the right, set the right course.
And it might have been too much, too late, too. It was
Yeah.
like, let's please everybody with this referendum.
Right, but I think we're going in the right direction.
And we
So,
didn't get the things done from 2018. So,
Which,
not all.
which
not
brings
many
up
of them.
another thing, because the county, since y'all are involved, is the Ladies Island Village Plan. Where is that?
Well, our planning department said they're waiting on the city of Beaufort's review of the scope.
Well, that's
may wanna
news
recheck
to
the
us.
planning department because that's not true.
Well, that's why we're having this
Yeah.
meeting. But I will say this, I remember because.
I'll just say,
But our administrator's writing it down, I'm sure.
I just say unequivocally, that's not true.
Okay.
I thought a scope of work was sent over to y'all, so.
Well, that's, like I said, that's why we're here to talk about those things.
Yeah.
If I remember, because
It
a
may
local
be
option
funded,
sales
too.
tax was discussed, it might have been before you were on council, it was discussed, and I think it was voted down, and one of the big issues with that was in the public was with the local option sales tax, and you correct me if I'm wrong, there's no sunset on it. Or to get it removed is you have to get like 80% of the population to get it off.
Have a petition.
So that was the thing the public would say was, once that goes on, that never comes off. Where this penny tax at least had a sunset. We're going to raise this much money or this much time.
Yeah, but what happens, it ends, and then they have another one. So
No, I-
it's,
No, I just remember when the lost discussion was going on, that was the issue with the public,
but
was
the thing
saying
with the
that.
loss would help
Yep, I know.
municipalities particularly,
Yeah.
is we don't have to mess with the millage all the time.
Right.
So we have that extra stream of income, so we're not always having to bump up against the state.
Just
limit on that.
just like the 1% transportation, it takes education so people understand.
Yeah.
And that's part of the trust issue, and it's part of the.
Yeah, that's why the 71%
understanding, 'cause
rollback on
when
your
you
taxes.
start talking about the
Yeah.
property tax relief and so forth, that can be maxed at the 71%, it's a substantial amount of money.
Yeah.
It helps from reduction of taxation.
Absolutely.
So-
There was also a perception among those in the lower income category in the county that it was just to benefit the wealthy. And so education is important. I would say to someone, I said, everyone's going to benefit from that. Obviously, the persons who pay more taxes may get a larger dollar amount, but not necessarily a percentage amount. So education is key. Very key. And the word tax,
Yeah.
you might as well say no.
You know, before we get too far away from the homeless issue, Councilman Mitchell made his comments, and I'd like to just kind of tie in. I think there's great value in having resources distributed, but the driving factor behind homelessness is a lack of affordable options. And sometimes I think we overshoot what we're trying to accomplish in that regard, because there are options now that are very, very affordable. You look at the boxable units that they're putting out, and I know that we may not want to see those, but the reality is those are a whole lot cheaper to get set up. Very quick setup, take down, very cheap and affordable. And if we did have, a building that could operate as a resource hub with enough land to grow out and put some of those boxable units. We have last year's point in time count, I think, showed, in the 70 to 80 was our homeless population. You look at somewhere like Charleston where they've got over 500, they have a lot more of an issue to try to get a rein on, whereas for us, it's still not that big of an issue. It is a big issue, but it's not overwhelmingly big. We just have to really think in a different direction in regards to what we provide, and housing is where that starts. You can have the other resources, but first, that's the driving factor behind why people become homeless for the most part, is just a lack of affordable options. It doesn't have to be anything big and extravagant. The most requested, the number one need for people in our community, based on the housing analysis, is a one bedroom apartment studio, So, and I think that's where we're going to find something that's within range for anybody that is either low, moderate income, or at that stage where they've fallen behind, they're now homeless and they need some kind of a transitional step to get back on their feet.
My comments was primarily to address the folks that's already homeless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, while it would be great to prevent someone becoming homeless, I was trying to talk about the folks who's already outdoors, right? The folks that are already living in the woods. So it maybe it's kind of a two-pronged attack. You try to prevent someone from becoming homeless, but you have to deal with the ones that's already homeless. So the ones that's already homeless are the ones that I was trying to focus on in terms of having these facilities in the different municipalities where they could kind of institutionalize in their mind when the services are available through their network of communications, travel, when could they travel to it, when the service is available. And then we can help the ones that's already homeless, and then try to prevent the ones that others from becoming homeless.
And the highest population are near the Walmarts in Beaufort and Jasper.
Really quick, I did want to hit on, because we talked about Rebo Road, we're talking about the taxes too, is, and we know that we just talked about it, the tax failed. Is there any plan with the county for any of those projects along Rebo Road to be implemented kind of piecemeal, or is it just, we'll just kind of, because I remember we always talk about our intersection,
The most important intersection in Beaufort County.
And
Ladies Island Drive and Rebo Road.
And the improvement,
I will agree.
And the improvement for that on Rebo Road was just that continuous lane, which I would think is probably not that expensive.
Advanced auto parts
I don't
store.
want to speak for Jared Playlix, but I think that is the one by the AutoZone.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I'm not sure. We can check on that.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't, like I said, that you don't need $70 million for that. That's just that was just one little, like a turning lane.
I think it may be feasible. but we'll check on it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And one improvement south of the draw that's been made at the 170, 278 interchange.
Oh, yeah.
Where they've got that right lane and it's just running.
Isn't it great?
Moving cars.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
Yes, and folks aren't cutting it anymore.
That is superb.
But you know, we had to put orange barrels up because
Yeah.
people were driving
Over
over
the
the
curb.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That flood. that
You gotta
flood-
put, you gotta put spikes on.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
What's coming in?
Permanent
power.
I'm not an engineer, but when I saw that, I'm like, this is
Yeah.
stupendous. I'm
It's
sorry, I
great.
didn't have my mic on.
And I would just ask you, we got you here, and just because I see Hope Cunningham,
But anyway,
Cherry
yeah,
Hill,
that looked really
the
good.
park up there, the Cherry Hill Oak Park, and our collaboration with y'all, just seeing if there was any, just
Okay.
kind of put that on your radar, because Hope's looking at me. Yeah, so the Friends of the Cherry Hill Oak, so.
Memorandum of understanding.
She mentioned it.
Perfect, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, so.
Thank you, Hope.
I told her I would. Just, we wanted to wrap up, we want to get everybody here by 8, and kind of our goal for tonight was just to kind of have a conversation. That was great. We didn't hit everything, and we never will. But again, we want everybody to respect your time. You got home, we got families. We want everybody to go home. They got, wives and husbands and families, and like, go enjoy. We got Converge in the morning, which we're talking about economic
That would
development.
be in my area.
Exactly, would be good.
Sun City.
Real quick question for you, because Bluffton south of the Broad is seeing exponential growth. I mean, I think it's growing faster than us. Is that, what is that population? Are you seeing families? Or is it all retirees? Is it a balance? Is it 50-50?
Well, in Bluffton itself, we're seeing families.
Families, so families are moving here.
But then you have a couple of POAs or HOAs like Sun City, Four Seasons that are 55 and over. Yeah, but Hardyville is drawing families there,
Okay.
and they're developing ad infinitum on Argent Boulevard, John Smith Road, but Bluffton, especially New Riverside, that's, if you take 170 down to the circle, those are a lot of families in there. And how do I know? Because they're all complaining about traffic, getting in and out of May River High School, getting around the circle. So there's a lot of families down there. You probably know that from the growth of the schools. But we have to have something to attract families to come and stay. They're not going to drive 50 miles to find a recreational park.
Yeah, and this will come, I'm sure that work's being done, but asking them, why are they moving here? And then I don't know the answer. I mean, are they jobs, and if it is, where are they working? And are they going to Savannah? You know what I'm saying? Just like, what's bringing them? I mean, I know it's gorgeous and it's beautiful, and we've got great local government and those things, but what's bringing?
Wages.
I got you. I'm saying, I just genuinely, what's making them move?
I think it's because COVID. A lot
Oh,
of
okay,
people
yeah.
up north in the mid-Atlantic states, especially in the mid-Atlantic states, their companies all closed down and said you have to go home and work. And once they were home and working, they were like, well, I can go anywhere.
Go anywhere, yeah.
So they came down and visited their grandma or the parents and rented a place for 4 or 5 months and worked out a beach rental they had.
No, and that's
in the middle of winter.
The Great Migration.
And then they said, well, wait a minute, I can move here.
Yep.
And I think some of it, and Dave and I were talking about this today, the schools are better in Bluffton than they are Savannah.
Gotcha.
I've seen the cars going south to Savannah.
So live in Bluffton, take the kids to school in Savannah.
Really?
No, take
The kids in Savannah.
The other way around.
Gotcha.
Savannah to
You
Bluffton.
see that at Bridges.
Oh, really?
So, well, again, yes, sir, you had a comment?
Because they work.
Because they work and stuff.
Rob Cahill, Beaufort. Just a quick question. Kevin, I have a son named Kevin, so I got room for you. Question, Safe Harbor. I thought it might come up at the dinner.
Yes, sir.
What free advice can you give to Beaufort City Council on how to have a relationship with them that is a win-win?
The key that we have found to them is, and you've got to communicate with them, and you've got to stay kind of, and I don't want to use the word stay on them, but you've got to make the effort to communicate. Safe Harbor is a $2 billion company. They're owned by Sun Communities, which I believe is a $17 billion company. So when they're buying assets like our property for $20 million, it's a rounding error to them. So it's the most important thing in the world to us because it's our home, it's our backyard. But they do not live here. They're a large corporation. They're all over the place. Again, a $20 million investment is a rounding error to a $2 billion company. So, in just reality, in their scheme of priorities, we're not in the top 100. So it's up to us to make the calls, stay on them, make the effort. And it's not anything against them. It's just, again, they own marinas that make, if you look at some of their properties, $300 million properties, $400 million properties. The Beaufort lease and the Port Royal property is a drop in the bucket to them. So that's our advice, is just you've got to make the effort to make the phone calls, send the emails, stay on them. You can't say, oh, we haven't heard anything from them. You pick up the phone.
And I think we have the upper hand because they want to be in Beaufort.
Yep. No, they want to be here, but I'm just saying that you got to make the effort. They're not going to reach out to us again. They're managing $2 billion in assets. So, absolutely. Thank you. So really quick, anything else that we wanted to get out? Like I said, we're trying to get out here by 8.
Just want to say thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
This has been great.
Yes, sir.
Thank everybody.
This is probably out of my lane. I talked to Darrell about it, that, for Mayor Henry Robinson, the naming of the
Boardwalk.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this came to my attention because my wife brought it to my attention. She took the kids down there, and she didn't know who Mayor Robinson was.
Yep.
She saw the name Henry Robinson there, but it didn't mean anything to her. And then when he passed, and she got to know who he was. She said, "Well, why didn't they put the name Mayor on there or something?"
Yeah.
Then it would have had a connection. Just a food for thought.
No, absolutely.
Well, you guys talked about last night having a hallway that had, pictures or information about people who grew up here or had a major influence in the community, and I know it was an idea that came from, I believe, Mr. Washington at the funeral, but you guys talked about it last night, and I think it's a really good idea. And then I'll just say too, I think what you guys are doing is awesome by having a liaison at the council meetings, and perhaps I do try to attend meetings when I can, and I watch most of them, but I think there's a lot of value in the municipalities having liaisons either to each other's meetings, county council meetings, school board meetings. So us kind of taking out of your playbook there and having dedicated liaisons to make sure that we're all on the same page would probably be of value.
Good idea.
Absolutely. So just really quick, and again, we're trying to get everybody by 8. So 2 more things. We'll double check. Anything else anybody for the good of the group wants to throw out there? We are going to meet again, I'll tell you so. But we kind of want to challenge everybody for our next meeting. This was the first one of the year. We wanted this one to be a conversation like this as it was. So the next one, we were talking, let's come to the next one with let's start working on some certifiable goals. Let's come to the next one with, this is something that's important to both of us. How do we work on that? We've kind of talked about what's on all of our minds, so we kind of know where everybody's at, and that's how we wanted to start it. So now, next steps, instead of just us having a conversation about, what are you doing? This is a goal. How can we achieve it? And by the end of the year, we can actually look and assess, did we make progress on that? Where can we get better on that? So that's kind of our challenge for our next meeting. We'll do that. We hope that the City of Beaufort does. We're also going to invite our partners at Beaufort Jasper Sewer Water Authority. And some other partners there. And anybody if you got any ideas to bring people to those, please do. And then right before we leave, let's do something. I just thought of this. It'll be fun. Okay. We're going to go around the table. One word that you hope just encompasses this year in government for you. One word to sum up the year. What do you hope it is?
Start to the right.
So I would say collaboration.
Yeah, I was going to say something.
What you got, bro?
Well, I was going to say teamwork. But
That's the same. We'll take it, yeah.
So, trust.
Okay, Dre, perfect.
Progress.
Yes.
Communication.
You can repeat. Good.
Clarity. Share.
Communication.
I have hope.
Hope.
Progress.
I'm going to go with trust as well.
Communication.
Responsive.
Tenacity.
Defective.
All of the above.
There you go. All right.
I just want to say one thing. I'd just like to say one thing. I am so proud that we have been able to come together. We started this probably in 93, 94. Billy Cosland was the mayor. He and I sat down one day and met at the old steakhouse next to the hospital. The next meeting we had with the town managers with us. And then from then on, we started bringing our councils in. And so it has grown but it has done so great because look at all the services that we can provide and the money that we're saving for our communities. And so it's very, very appreciated that we're able to continue. We're able to bring in the school board, we're bringing the county council, and we look forward to bringing in more to make sure that our community gets the best that they deserve. So thank you.
Thank you for inviting council.
Motion to adjourn.
Got it.
All right. Thank you all very much. Everybody.